Question: how does one better look into the psychology and the subconscious mind? I understand that one must invoke light from above, from the Ascended Masters, the Holy Christ Self, so that we can see clearer. But sometimes I find it difficult to continue. Actually, there are times I see what it is and I try to change it, but I just don't find it as effective. It's like it continues to linger and I just grow frustrated, to the point I just stop. Is there a better way to just transcend or change? Why does it seem so difficult to let go and let God? How does one detach? Okay, so this is a complex question, but let me just give a little background. I have said that in our subconscious mind we have these structures. I call them subconscious selves or separate selves. And then the core of our being is the conscious you. The conscious you has created the self, often in response to a difficult situation. When the conscious you goes inside the self, it's looking at life through the self. It's like a perception filter. It's like the colored glasses. Everything is colored by the self. And in order to, and what happens is we then start reacting to life through the self. And as we do this, we are qualifying energy. Everything we do is done with energy. For example, we can have a self that makes us respond with anger in certain situations. And then we are qualifying energy with anger. And the anger accumulates in the emotional mind and it pulls on the conscious you, making it more difficult for the conscious you to step outside the self. So that's why you invoke light from the Ascended Masters to dissolve that energy that pulls on the conscious you. And the idea is that as you reduce the pull from the energy, eventually dissolving it completely, it's easier for the conscious you to step outside the separate self. However, even if you remove all the energy, it doesn't mean that the conscious you is automatically going to step outside the self. You have to consciously decide that you want to do this. You have to you have to consciously decide to observe yourself and your reactions. So, for example, you see that I have a certain pattern. I was reacting this way in these situations or to certain people. This person always makes me angry. Why is that? Why am I feeling like I have to react to this person and I can only react by becoming angry, for example? These are the questions you need to consider. And so the person says, I invoke the light, but sometimes I find it difficult to continue. Well, that's because you are not yet developed this conscious habit of looking. Because it's not just a matter of the energy. So you need to look deeper. And the Ascended Masters have given many tools for this. I have talked about this in some of my breakthrough videos about the subconscious selves. There is a book called Healing Your Spiritual Traumas, where the Masters give various practical exercises you can do for discovering these selves. But it really isn't, again, even the exercises are not automatic. You have to be willing to look, to observe yourself and ask these questions. And I have met people over the years who haven't developed that habit yet. So it may take a little time and patience for you to keep asking the question. But you can keep asking the question, why am I reacting this way? And you can ask, what does my reaction say about my belief, about myself, for example? Why do I become angry? If anger is often a reaction to feeling powerless, well, why do I feel powerless? Do I feel that there are certain situations where I can't stand up for myself? I can't say no to other people? It can be many different things, but I'm just saying these are some of the questions you can ask. Then the question goes on. There's the times where I see what it is and I try to change it, but I don't find it as effective. It's like it continues to linger and I just grow frustrated to the point I just stop. Well, this is another habit you need to develop. Basically, I think I have been observing myself all of my life, as many spiritual people are. We're actually often too self-conscious. We're too willing to look at ourselves. But anyway, so I've been observing myself my whole life. And I have had many situations where I started to see something in my psychology, started to see a pattern, but it didn't go away. It just didn't go away. And I understand that if you haven't developed a habit, you can feel frustrated, you can give up. But that's really because you have an unrealistic expectation that you should have instant results. And this is what I've said many times: our modern society, our consumer culture has made us addicted to this instant gratification. So I have met people who find the Ascended Master teachings about the subconscious selves, they do take a book, they do it and expect, oh, they should get results just like that. But as I'm saying, I've been doing this for a very long time. I have many, many experiences where I saw a pattern, I started working on it, but it took a long time to dissolve, sometimes years. And I have learned over time just to be patient, because I know that as I keep working on it, eventually there's going to be a breakthrough. There's going to come a point where now I see it. I, of course, also asked the Ascended Masters for help to see it. But even if I asked him for help, it doesn't mean that I instantly get some booming voice from heaven that tells me, Kim, you have this problem. So it can, because I have to come to see it. It's not a matter of being told. It's a matter of coming to see it from inside. The conscious you comes to see the pattern. And that often takes time. So I think you have to simply make that decision that it's okay if it takes time. And you won't get frustrated. You won't stop. You'll just keep going. And is there a better way to just transcend or change? Well, I've been on the spiritual path for 48 years. And these teachings by the Ascended Masters of the subconscious selves and the tools they have given, such as in the book Healing Your Spiritual Traumas, are the most effective ways that I have come across. I can't say it's necessarily that way for everybody. We're all different. But what I will say is that what I have seen over the years is so many people, is there a better way to just transcend or change? They are looking for quick and easy results. And that is an expectation that is not going to get you far on the spiritual path. No, it's just unrealistic. You will run into disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. I've seen people give up on the path. But it was simply because they had an unrealistic expectation to begin with. I mean, you have this silly old saying, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. But just turn it around. Give it a twist. A journey of 1,000 miles is completed only if you continue to take one step at a time. That's the only way to complete the journey. And so if you expect that, 10 steps and you're going to be there, the journey of 1,000 miles, it's just not a realistic expectation, is it? So that's why I think we have to be realistic and be patient with ourselves and apply the tools again and again. I would say when I look back at my life, the biggest psychological problem or issue that I had all of my life was this tendency to feel embarrassed when I did something that I thought was stupid or that I thought other people thought was stupid. This was like the signature issue that followed me. And I was, of course, keenly aware of this as a child because I felt embarrassed a lot. And I was keenly aware of it during my adulthood because, again, I felt embarrassed in certain situations. But it's only within maybe the last year or two that it's really dissolved. So I was working on it for that long. I wasn't always working on it intensely and consciously because I didn't really know what to do about it. But so I had a lot of other issues that I had to get out of the way first before I could look at this. And that's often the way it is with people. I see that you may have one very strong issue that you are aware of. It gives you psychological pain. But you can't work on it until you have cleared some other things away first. And so that's another reason to be patient and to keep applying the process. Basically you can say, I look at people over the many years I've been on the path, and I look at people who have experienced results and people who haven't. And the people who experienced results, it was not because they were smarter or more intelligent or more spiritual than the others, because they kept going, they kept trying. They didn't always try the same thing because they were willing to try different things as well. You always have a balance. Einstein said if you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, you're insane. So I'm not saying you have to just, like for example me, when I was 18 years old, I found transcendental meditation. And there were people who believed that if they kept meditating, it would solve all of their problems. And if I had adapted that attitude, I could still be doing meditation. And I guarantee you, I wouldn't have resolved anywhere near the psychology I have resolved by doing other things. So obviously we need to experiment and do different things. But what I'm saying is we have to keep experimenting. We have to keep trying to resolve the psychology, working on resolving the psychology, instead of looking for a quick and easy way out. When I look at YouTube videos, for example, about, especially about non-duality, which is a topic I've been looking into now for some time, it's clear that there are some people out there that set themselves up as these non-dual teachers, and they're promising a quick fix, an easy way out. Just shift your attention a little bit and all suffering will be gone. But it doesn't work that way in reality. And it may work for some people for a short time because they get themselves into this state of mind where they think, now I can ignore all my problems. But they will come back. They always do. And so, there are no quick fixes on the spiritual path. And one way to look at this is that we have been in embodiment on Earth for a very long time. Earth is a very difficult planet. We have created many of these subconscious selves in reaction to difficult and traumatic situations. To expect that there's some easy technique where you basically snap your fingers and you are free of these hundreds or thousands of embodiments of accumulated separate selves, it's just not realistic. I mean, come on. Just get with the program and realize what kind of a planet we're on. Very difficult planet. It takes work. It takes persistence. It takes a willingness to try different things, see what works for you, but it takes a willingness to continue trying. And once in a while, you have to also be willing to try something different. Try and look at the problem from a different angle. Approach it in a different way. Step back and try to see what you haven't seen before. Because, I understand this. I just don't find it as effective. It's like it continues to linger and I just go frustrated. Yes, I understand this. But the reason that it lingers is that you haven't seen the issue fully. You haven't seen the separate self you're dealing with and the illusion it's based on. I can see this in myself so many times. I saw that there was a problem. I had some understanding of the problem, but I didn't really see why do I get embarrassed? I hadn't seen what belief I had about myself that made me feel embarrassed. It was actually complex beliefs. I'm not going to go into it here, but there was a set of beliefs about myself that basically I had to be superhuman, you could say, to simplify it. And if I wasn't, I should feel embarrassed. It took me that long to see it, but once I saw it, well, it was dissolved. And once I got over it, it was worth it because I feel very differently about myself now than I did before.